All right, and we're moving on with distributive property. And distributive property is another law in math that you can use. And we're on example 2 on page 377. So follow along in your book. It says 4 times parentheses x plus 7. So order of operations says work inside the parentheses, x plus 7. Can't do anything, so now you move out. And so this is a perfect example of distributive because it's double multiply. So this term outside here times this term. Remember, that's a coefficient of 1. So 4 times 1 is 4x. So number times number, and then 4 times the second term is plus 28. And you cannot combine these terms because one's x and one's a number. So let's move on to example 3 on page 377. And it goes 6 times p minus 5. And if you prefer, I don't mind if you change those variables to x, but we're going to use p here. And so this is another example of distributive because I go inside the parentheses and there's nothing to do. So I go outside and I'm going to multiply 6 times p, and remember that's 1, so 6 times 1p is 6p, and then multiply it times the negative 5 because the number takes the sign. 6 times 5 is 30, and it's a negative. And I cannot combine them, so box them in. Number 4 on that same page is negative 2. See how they're getting harder? X minus 8. So now we have our negative rules too. So we look at the order of operations. You work inside of the parentheses. X minus 8 can't do anything, so let's go outside, and negative 2 times x is negative 2x, because remember the coefficient of x is 1. And then negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. So really, you need to make sure you have got your numbers, your negative rules mastered. And let's see if we can get number 5 in. I think we can. And it is 5 times negative 3x plus 7y. And this is getting a little bit more complicated, but really not too much. So you go inside the parentheses because order of operations says that. And negative 3x plus 7y. Can't do anything, so I'm coming outside. So I'm going to take this term and multiply it times this term. So it's number to number. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And just bring the variable around. And then 5 times this term, and so circle and solve. 5 times 7 is 35y. Now you look at this, and we have x's over here and y's over here. We can't combine them, so we just box it in. It looks kind of messy, but it still follows the same pattern. And just when you think you got it solved, we're going to use negatives, we're going to use fractions, and we're going to be variables on lesson 6, or example 6, on page 377 still. And it's 1/3. Yikes! X minus 6. Okay, we won't panic. We're going to do it step by step. X minus 6 is inside the parentheses, but I can't do anything. So I'm going to multiply this term times this term, and that's really 1x. So 1/3 times 1x is 1/3 x. 1/3 times negative 6, and 1/3 times negative 6 would be, let's go over here, 1/3 times negative 6. So we would have, make that a whole number, or a fraction rather, because fractions to fractions. And I want to cross simplify, so I can take a factor out of 3 and a factor out of 6 here, 3 out of 6, and I get negative 2. If I multiply across, I get 1 times negative 2 is negative 2 over 1, which is really negative 2. So this actually is a -2, and this is an x, and this is a constant, so I can't combine them and box that in. So a little bit more complicated because you have fraction rules you got to pay attention to, you have the negative rules you got to pay attention, and then now we're starting the algebra rules with distributive property like double multiply. Hope this helps. Thank you.